It is Friday, May 6th, and today we saw 18 acts from semifinal 2 during their second rehearsals, and we also saw France and Spain, who of course have automatic spots in the grand final. It's time to go around and pick our favorites. Josh, why don't you kick us off with your winner of the day?
I never expected this, but my winner for the day is the Czech Republic. I was thoroughly impressed with their rehearsal today. Gabriella is gorgeous. She walked past me today and I got a photo with her, and she was super lovely, very down to earth, and she can sing. Her live vocal is amazing. The staging is simple, but it's still carrying on the theme of the video clip. This could absolutely get Czech Republic into the final for the first time, and I do think it is the best thing we've seen today.
I've got to say, before we got here, I said this was boring, and then I saw the first rehearsal and I fell in love, and now, even a few days later, I hear it again and I still like it. I think the staging is so tasteful, so classy. Well done, Czech Republic. This isn't my number one, but it's very, very close. My number one is actually Armenia. Iveta Mukuchan. Once again, she slayed this. She owned the stage. She has a commanding presence. She's beautiful. She looks amazing. Today she was always sexy, and she was never too sexy, but I felt like today she toned it down slightly. I'm not actually sure what she did. Maybe it was a darker pair of hose or something, but it was still very sexy, but slightly more tasteful, which won't, be as divisive when people watch. Vocally, you can't fault her. She gives so much intensity, so much drama, so much life and energy. I'm just repeating, copying and pasting everything I said from the other day and applying it here. This was even classier and more polished, because I had bumped into her delegation and they said they still had things to work on. I was like, what could you possibly still work on? But they somehow smoothed out the rough edges. It just felt smoother and glossier.
Today we saw 18 acts perform from semi-final 1. There were 17 peasants and 1 queen. And that was unquestionably Iveta Mukuchan.
Yeah.
Like, no one came close. Everything was just perfect. Obviously the staging.
Yeah.
The staging, we've talked about it before. It's just sublime. Then there's her vocals and that intro. I was in the arena while the rehearsal was going on, and you just kind of have to sit still, and it's like a sucker punch, and it just blows me away. Her vocals are so strong. Even the instrument, the arrangement of the instruments, it's just so gripping.
Yeah.
And then the staging, and she has such a command of the stage. And I think she is definitely a top 5 contender.
Potential winner. I take it she's your number one.
Of the day, yes.
Final point on Iveta, which I hadn't noticed. The song is so experimental that I totally overlooked the fact it's also got very strong traditional elements. And in the opening 40 seconds, when it's leading to the sonic boom, it sounds very Armenian. And I love that they've managed to do that, create something that's both experimental and traditional at once. Just fantastic. Now, Josh, what is your number 2?
I'm going to carry on for the love with Armenia because they are my number 2. The staging is so unique, so memorable, and Iveta's live performance is so good. I think between her and Dami, they're probably the 2 best female vocalists we have in the competition this year. She absolutely nailed it. I unfortunately didn't have the joy of watching it in the arena. I was sat in the press center today, but watching it on the big screen, seeing the holograms, seeing the fire, everything was ready to go. This song is ready for the final. This song is ready for top 5. Armenia, killing it. It's so good.
Absolutely. Now, my number 2, it's Russia. My number 2 is Russia. Now, we all took a big gasp the other day when Sergei fell when he was testing out this LED wall climb, but he has sorted that out. He has gone back to basics. I think he's a bit more comfortable on stage, so he took his time, he found his marks, and it just felt smoother. It felt glossier. He's a confident performer to begin with, but now that he's been on the stage for a few days, the confidence is just shining through. I think he sounded great. I think the lighting, something about it was more powerful today. Maybe it's because I saw it in the arena for the first time, but the lighting, it went from dark to bright in a very smooth way. It wasn't jarring. This just had energy and drive and vigor, and he was owning the stage. He was charismatic, and he's still looking real good.
Yes, Russia, when they first performed on Monday, was one of my biggest losers, but I also rated it quite highly. But today I've cooled down a bit because I was expecting so much, and I've kind of readjusted my expectations, and they are my number 2. And the staging is still too busy. There's still too much going on. but it's not enough to make it bad. And he's just such a professional performer, and I was in the arena too, so I got to hear his vocals live, and it's got such an impact when you're there. And the staging was that bit more polished. He was more confident on the kind of building block effect that's pushing out, because of course he fell the first time, so he was kind of very cautious then going forward. And I don't know whether they changed anything or they tweaked it, but it seemed to me that there was more going on behind him and it was more powerful. And I still think that they might have damaged their chances of winning, but without a doubt they're in the top 5.
I should also point out that we've been in this press center for 13 hours with no air, no sunlight. So if we seem queasy, that is why. Now, those are our winners, but we have to talk about our losers. And not necessarily losers, but people who didn't overwhelm us, people who didn't meet our expectations. Josh, who was a disappointment for you?
Sorry.
Dick, what?
Yeah. My biggest disappointment today belongs to Azerbaijan.
Really?
Yeah. And look, you had the pleasure of interviewing Summer today.
Amazing woman.
Yeah, the interview was fierce. She looks great. She's gorgeous, and her look I cannot fault. I understand that she was ill earlier during the week, and maybe she still is, but that voice needs some work. It's really off. And I don't want to sound mean or horrible, but vocally, it's not up to the same level as any other act that we've seen today. The stage performance is amazing. The costumes look good. The choreography's great. She's a lovely girl, and she's really passionate about the contest, which is really great to see. But I felt a little let down, and it makes me sad. But
Listen,
yeah.
I know this is a video about opinions, but I'm going to offer a fact check. Samra was amazing. We need to remember that she is ill.
Yeah.
You know, she was very, very under the weather. And that she was able to deliver that vocal today, given how sick she has been, is simply amazing. Because in the arena, she actually sounded fantastic. They've added the full-on pyro at the end. You know, it's got the Ellen Nikki rain coming down. There's some fire shooting up. It was really, really exciting. Kind of epic, actually. And I am confident that by Tuesday, when she takes the stage for her semifinal, she's going to be at 100%. The vocals have been improving, performance by performance.
Of course, yeah.
And this is no different. Porig.
Do you know what word accompanies the word epic a lot?
Fail.
But yeah, that's harsh. But yeah, she wasn't great. But my biggest loser is probably Malta. In the sense that they weren't the worst, but I think, because I go by loser by my expectations, and I think they're not even living up to their own expectations, because they came with this vision, and that Ira was going to be in this projection dress, and there was going to be all this amazing imagery mapped onto her, but they've had to they haven't been able to do that, and they've had to kind of cut back because of whatever way the lights were and the movement. It just wasn't working, and Ira looked like she was wearing a big sack, a potato sack, and that wasn't a good look. So now they've had to compromise, and she's wearing a lovely dress. It's a stunning dress.
Fantastic.
It's really jeweled, but because they had so much invested in the original projection dress idea, Ira seems a bit lost. That she still is owning the stage, but she's doing all this movement, and it would have worked so well if the projection dress had worked. The stage wasn't as busy or as crazy, which was an improvement, but I kind of feel sad for what could have been.
Yeah, I share that. This could have been even more amazing, but I've got to say, this is such an improvement over the first rehearsal. Absolutely. I think she looked elegant. I think she looked confident. I think the dress reflects light very well. I think the lack of busyness, the fact that they've edited stuff out makes this so much more digestible. And so now in the second half, because I always loved the first half of the song, and now I also love the second half of the song and performance. It's really strong. I'm thinking that they might have more tricks up their sleeves. It's Malta. It keeps changing. Who knows? She's still in this.
Yeah.
Now, my biggest loser, and she's not a loser at all. That's a harsh word. My biggest disappointment was Croatia. And this isn't about her voice. She was amazing. It's not about her presence. It's amazing. It's about this dress reveal. Because she's got this gorgeous first dress, this kimono-inspired kabuki treat on chest realness, which is, of course, inspired by a tattoo on her back. But then her dancers come up, they rip it off, and it reveals this like Las Vegas showgirl dressed as a peacock who had a fight with a fan. And it doesn't work. There's silver shards hanging off of her, there are feathers hanging off of her. It doesn't fit the song. It's not true to her style. She is edgy and avant-garde. That dress is tacky. I mean, she looks, honestly, showgirl is the perfect word. I mean, I think she would look better if she just put on a costume of a lighthouse at this point.
I feel like I had seen that white dress before on After Dark in Melody Festival.
Yes. No, absolutely. Washed up showgirl. And she is a beautiful woman with edgy realness. I love the first dress, but please reveal something else. Or just keep the first dress on,
keep it on.
like, and then have a spotlight on you for the change effect.
And I was even speaking with other reporters in the press room, and one of them said, if she had Hovey Star's staging, she could be a potential winner.
Absolutely.
And instead, she's this complete gimmick, and she looks like... Is it harsh to call it a freak show? Because it just looks... And she's not even happy with it herself, so...
Yeah, you get that sense, and that's she seems not distressed, but uncomfortable. And we want Nina to feel comfortable because Nina, in our book, musically, you are a potential winner of this contest. So I'm hoping your team will hit the drawing board. Hit the drawing board and rework this. Now, we should quickly talk about the two big five countries who rehearsed. We've just filmed reaction videos, which you can see here on wiwibloggs. But in short, they were both somewhat disappointing. I'm going to kick this off with France. You know, he wants to give his universal message of love and hope and friendliness, and so he stages this in the universe, but it's just very cliche. The space theme is the most overused background in Eurovision and Junior Eurovision. This is beneath a mirror. He sounds great, he looks great, but those planets that are flying at him, those big balls flying at his head, they do not fill the stage. It looks empty, and that makes him look lost, even though we know he's a confident performer. I don't like the background. I can't get past the background.
And he's standing in a sea of blue, and he's wearing a blue suit, so he kind of just gets lost in it. And it's disappointing because he's so charismatic.
So charismatic.
And even with this bad staging, he still is charismatic. But the staging is not a winner's staging. No. He's not going to win Eurovision with this performance, with this background, and that is a crime.
This is not top 10 staging, and this pains me because the French delegation is perhaps my favorite here. I love them. I love their HOD. He's a visionary. It's difficult to say this, but I want it to be said because we want you guys to win or do well, and we need you to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I'm really sad for France because I came in to this contest with France as my number one. I love Che Che Che. I think it's still a great song, and Mia performs it very well. He struggled a little bit with the high notes, but it's his first rehearsal, and you know you warm up and you'll be fine. But the staging is a complete letdown. There's no essence of winner in the staging for France, and this is the first time in a really long time where I've gone into the contest saying, yes, France has a good song. They've completely ruined their chances at winning, and that upsets me quite a lot because now I actually don't know who my favorite is this year.
And that leads us nicely to Spain, which also has an amazing song, an amazing performer. I think this held together better in my mind than France did. Beret was on point vocally, visually, sexually. She just looked amazing. She sounded amazing. But her backing vocalists don't. Her backing vocalists also don't look great. They're wearing, they look like jerseys, like American, football jerseys or something. It's just, it's trying to be a high fashion take on the football jersey, but it doesn't work. It's a shame too because Beret is stunning and everything around her lets her down. I do like the LED floor. You know, it goes from black triangles to bright white triangles to purple and yellow triangles. That's nice. But it's not the disco vibe because the stage seems empty, and her choreographed backing vocalist, it's cheesy.
Yeah, I think my heart broke a little today because Spain has been my number one for weeks now. And I said Malta was my biggest loser, but that was from the semi-finals, and I think I had such high expectations that I have to say Spain was my biggest loser. It's definitely not the worst song we've seen over the last week, but the staging just didn't work. There were elements of it that kind of reflected her music video. So the intro started really dark and she was in shade, and it kind of represented Hello Mr. Fighter, and then I was expecting a big bright reveal. Instead we got a tacky blue, reds, pinks that I don't think went well with the song because she's wearing a nice gold dress, and if she had similar staging to Lord Sora, who has this really warm golds and oranges, but then that was okay. Then it went on and I was kind of losing hope. Then next thing, Beret falls, and I was like, oh no, what has happened? Has she just had an even worse day, that she's had bad staging and then injured herself? But no, she got back up. It was all choreographed. I actually really liked that part, but the rest just doesn't work for me.
It looked like she had twisted her ankle for real, and I'm not sure that I like it. I think it's just like the Netherlands. It's an awkward pause. People at home will be like, WTF just happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for people in the Eurovision bubble who know this song, but for people who have not encountered her song before, it's going to be like, WTF, did the girl just fall? And maybe they'll vote for her out of sympathy because they think, ooh, she got back up and sang, but that's not the point. It's just awkward. I think it needs to go.
Yeah, I think it needs to go too. I think it's probably going to be one of the most divisive things that we're going to see in the contest this year. Some people will love it, some people will not love it. As you said, Beret by herself is amazing. No faults whatsoever. Those backing vocalists, they need to go back. Beret could do this by herself and it would be a much more successful performance. I wasn't a fan of the color scheme of the staging. It reminded me a lot of Serbia 2011,
Yes.
which, you know, that was 5 years ago. We can move on. But again, like, just like Amir, like, I love Beret too, and she was in my top 10 as well, and not after today.
Well, that's what we think. What do you think? You can let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Make sure to subscribe.
And give us a like.
See you later. Good night.